My name is Lydall Bacon. I'm speaking as a member of the Ex-Confederates Club here in Western North Carolina. And the theme I wish to speak about today is the display of the swastika in the presence of our Confederate battle flag of the Army of Northern Virginia. This flag was made for me 20 years ago by a black man in South Carolina. He was a complete professional. He hand-stitched every part of it as would have been the flags actually used during the time of the war. The colors are correct. And equally important, he selected a canvas-type material so that it is actually usable as a flag. I'm as proud of owning this flag as he was of making it for me. I paid him $200 20 years ago, and it's worth every penny of it. And let me speak to you about this flag. This flag never has represented hate except by extreme groups who've adopted it, and they are giving it a bad name. You have seen the pictures on the television of the little punk in Charleston that shot those wonderful people holding the Confederate flag. And after that, Nikki Haley, the governor of South Carolina, took this flag down off the statue of Robert E. Lee. I know it was politically a smart move for her, but when you actually analyze what she did, by taking this flag down, she is validating what the white trash Ku Klux Klan claims it stands for, and that is not correct. There was no hatred during the time that this flag flew on the battlefields except for the northern armies that invaded the South. I am very concerned about those people who are displaying the swastika in the presence of the flag that represented our effort to obtain our independence from the federal union, which was not turning out to be the union that our Southern forefathers created when they participated in the creation of the United States of America. For those who really know history, they know that this flag represents the states who thought that the federal government was far overpowering the states' rights, and the whole war was a war over states' rights. It was not a war to defend slavery. When Abraham Lincoln discovered the unpopularity of this war through the many editorials that northern newspaper editors wrote, he used the Emancipation Proclamation as a way to create this to be a war over the emancipation of slavery. Newspaper editors all across the North were locked up in violation of their right, the First Amendment right, to do editorials that were against the war. And through Abraham Lincoln's influence, they were denied the constitutional right of habeas corpus to be released from jail. So here you had a president who was supposedly defending the Constitution of the United States of America by sending the soldiers of the North-South, and at the same time he was violating the Constitution, he was violating the editor's First Amendment right, and he was violating their constitutional right of habeas corpus. Only then did it become an emotional issue involving slavery. This flag does not represent hatred except among the extreme groups who, like many, many Americans, have no sense of American history, but are only learning slogans in college that they believe give them a high moral ground. But to get back to the point I wish to make, the display of swastikas has no place, and here is why. Soldiers of the Jewish faith served in the artillery, the infantry, and on the high seas of the Confederate Army of the Confederate States of America. Let me remind you that descendants of Confederate veterans died on the beaches of Normandy fighting the Nazis. Descendants of Confederate veterans died at Anzio Beach fighting the Nazis. Descendants of Confederate veterans died at the Battle of the Bulge and elsewhere in Europe fighting the Nazis. The swastika has no place in our history. This book, written by Robert Rosen, entitled The Jewish Confederates, is a work of scholarship that details the tremendous sacrifice that people of the Jewish faith gave to support the Confederate States of America. Many of these Jewish immigrants had only recently arrived in the South before the war began, and yet they participated fully in the defense of the Confederate States of America. Members of the Jewish faith served on President Davis's cabinet. Members of the Jewish faith served as officers in the field. Members of the Jewish faith served as enlisted men. They fought with us, they died with us, and they are buried with us. Any large Confederate cemetery where we are lucky enough to know who they were, you will find the Star of David on grave markers as well as the Christian cross. If you identify with this flag, you would never make or even think one moment about an anti-Semitic thought or deed. It is disgraceful to all who died serving the Confederate government to even allow a swastika to be displayed alongside our beautiful flag. In Mr. Rosen's book, you will see he picked as his cover here artwork by Dan Nance, Charlotte, North Carolina artist. He shows Major Proskauer, head of the 12th Alabama Regiment at the Battle of Gettysburg. He was known to smoke cigars while directing his men in battle. He was wounded 3 times. He survived the war. He fought courageously for the Confederates, as did many other members of the Jewish faith. I beg of you, when you look in the mirror, when you shave, or when you put on your makeup, I want you to feel good about yourself. I want you to feel like I am a true Southerner, and that you would never think about doing anything against people of the Jewish religion. They were us. Thank you so much for your consideration.